A recent case that I think was a great success for our firm was a case involving a person who worked at a paper mill in Longview, Washington. It was a $13.5 million verdict for a deceased mesothelioma victim and his family. That case was particularly representative of what our firm does best because it was a really difficult case in terms of proving the exposure, because the client sadly had passed away by the time that we brought the case and he wasn't able to testify. So the exposure challenges were really difficult. One of our firm's greatest strengths is to tenaciously advocate for our clients all the way through a verdict if necessary. We tried the case for almost a month against two different defendants, an asbestos fiber supplier and their distributor. And ultimately, we were able to prevail and get a very significant verdict, one of the largest in King County history and Washington State history for an asbestos victim.
One of the series of cases that I've worked on recently that really stand out in recent memory are a series of asbestos injury cases that my firm has handled against the Washington State Ferry System. We obtained many documents going back to the 70s and 80s that shows that the ferry system, unfortunately, was not adhering to regulations and was not preventing passengers and workers from being exposed to asbestos at the docks and aboard the Washington State ferry boats. I represented a gentleman who was diagnosed with asbestosis. Just by coincidence, happened to work with the family of a ferry boat captain, one of the most senior captains in the system, who unfortunately was diagnosed with and passed away from mesothelioma, also from the ferry system. Those were two cases that my firm handled in 2025 that really stand out to me as cases where we were able to obtain justice for the families.
I recently represented just over a dozen adults who had been sexually abused as children at a county juvenile detention facility. We were able to resolve their claims on a very favorable basis without even having to file a lawsuit. And what that meant for my clients was that they did not have to go through the trauma of reliving some of the worst things that have ever happened to them in a court. All they had to do was give a brief, informal interview, and then we were able to get their case resolved. That really represents the sort of creativity that Oslund Udo Little brings to representing clients, understanding that not everybody wants to go all the way to trial. We really listen to our clients and figure out what their objectives are. Because we have so many verdicts, defendants want to come to the table early with us. They want to resolve with us. They don't want to go to trial against us. And so because of our great trial results, we're actually able to resolve cases earlier and on more favorable terms for our clients.